Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm joined here, as always, with my partner in crime, Sam Snyder of Primetime Sports Talk. And this is another episode of Jungle Talk. Yeah,
Hooray, baby!
Hooray, baby! And here we are. This is the going into Week 18, essentially kind of our bye week. But before we get into everything, Sam, why don't you tell them where they can find all your stuff?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at Talk Primetime or at primetimesportstalk.com.
There we go. All right. And as always, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. Just support the channel. So
yeah, hit that little bell while you're at it.
That's right. And we got the new artwork, so you can go hit that new little logo. And new year, new artwork, new day. Right.
That's right, baby.
So, all right. Well, with this, we have a game coming up this week that, I mean, it counts, and there are some implications, but we already know Baker Mayfield's out. We already know that Joe Burrow is going to rest, which I think is a great thing. We have multiple players on COVID, so this is looking more and more and more like a preseason game that's going to count in the standings. So the biggest ramification, I think, is who we would get if we fall. Well, we can go through the scenarios here. We would like to get to one, but that would require Tennessee and Kansas City losing. And Kansas City is playing Denver, and we just found out today that there's no Patrick Surtain and no Darby. So the two starting corners are out. Trent Locke's playing quarterback. So I can't see the Chiefs losing that game. So
Drew Lock,
or Drew Lock. So we're not going to get to the two. Which the two would be nice because we could get either the Raiders or the Chargers, but I don't see us getting there. And then Tennessee is going down to Houston, and they already lost to Houston once. Does any of us really think Houston's going to sweep Tennessee this year?
No, especially not when these two teams are playing for the number one seed against each other. You know what I mean? So Kansas City wins, Tennessee loses, then Kansas City gets the one. As long as Tennessee wins, they keep the one because they've got the tiebreaker over Kansas City anyway.
So basically, the only ramification if we don't win this game is we could fall from 3 to 4. Right. Now we'll talk about our first round opponent. The biggest ramification there is we would go to Tennessee, assuming that Tennessee keeps the one. We would go to Tennessee in the second round if we win the first round.
Ooh, easy, bro. Easy. So, Pump those brakes, Mark.
No. So I'm saying, but that's the ramification for this win in terms of this, is we would wind up going to Tennessee instead of going to Kansas City, which, do we want to give Mahomes a rematch this soon to the, so like I said, I'm not that to me isn't a huge cost.
Not at Arrowhead.
No. So the big thing is dealing with who we would play next week. And instead of, like I said, we're assuming we're not going to get the Raiders or the Chargers. So that leaves us with Indy. It leaves us with Buffalo, and it leaves us with New England, basically. So it's one of those three teams in the first round. Do we have a preference?
I really don't, because, just by virtue of the way we've played in some of our bigger games and the way that we've played of late, there are very few teams that scare me right now. I can't believe I'm saying that. Well, I mean, I guess maybe they scare me a little bit, but there's nobody that I think, oh, no, we'll get killed if we play them or something like that. I don't necessarily want to play against Bill Belichick. I know this is not a New England team of old, but at the same time, it's still Bill Belichick, and he's going to scheme, and he's going to come up with some wrinkles and some good defensive looks, and he's going to mess with us a little bit. So I would prefer to avoid him. But, the rest of the teams, they're not, putting the fear of God into me or anything. The one thing I will say on a side note is just Indianapolis better beat Jacksonville. Because if they lose and let someone like the Steelers in the playoffs, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah.
Wow. Not because I don't want to play them, just because I don't want the Steelers to make the playoffs. I want Ben to go home and go fishing. And, I don't want to see them sneak in there, because that's what they always seem to do. They back in and figure out something.
Well, they backed in last year, and Cleveland promptly beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be honest, I mean, the Ravens and the Steelers don't belong in the
No, they
playoffs
don't.
this year. They're not good teams. Baltimore because of injuries, the Steelers because they're decimated. They were decimated coming into the year in terms of offensive line and in terms of the offense. So, while I like I said, I don't think the NFL wants either of those teams in the postseason. Not that
Right.
they have any say in it, but there's not going to lead to exciting first round games.
Right.
So, but yeah, I just I don't see Tennessee losing or Indianapolis losing.
I don't either. I mean, they haven't won in Jacksonville since 2009, but I usually hate stats like that because it's always a new team. It's always a different team. It's not the same people that were there that played there. I mean, half of them are different from last year,
Right.
Let alone 5 years ago or whatever. You know what I mean? So I generally hate stats like that, but you still see it on paper and it kind of gives you a little woo,
Yeah, I don't with James Robinson out, I just don't see Jacksonville being able to muster enough to win that game. And
Right.
I also with the Indianapolis blowing the game last week to the Raiders. I don't see. I think that Frank Reich's going to have them ready. Wentz had just come off the COVID list, so he didn't practice all week. There was a lot of things that went into that. The emotion of John Madden dying, helped the Raiders. I just don't see. I just don't see them losing. So with that, we would wind up with, like I said, either Indy. And the thing about New England is if Buffalo loses and New England wins, they'll flip flop, and Buffalo would be the wild card. So that's why they're in the mix. But I don't think Buffalo blows their game. And I don't think that if of all the teams, New England has the hardest game.
Right.
They do not have a good history down in Miami. And Miami would like nothing more. And Miami has a decent defense. And there's a team that ran off. Listen, they're not a bad team. They ran off 7 wins in a row. But the flip side is New England did lose to Miami in week 1 on the Harris fumble. They were going for the winning score. So this was kind of their bookend. They started the season with Miami. They're ending the season with Miami. Do you think Bill Belichick loses both games to Miami?
I seriously doubt it.
I seriously doubt it too. So,
but stranger things have happened. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the teams that we just mentioned lays an egg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, any given Sunday, right? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The teams that are big favorites don't always win.
No, they don't. Well, just the fact that Buffalo went down to Jacksonville and lost this year, tells you that anything can happen.
Right.
But, it's so now we're going into this game and it's like, well, we're going to have Brandon Allen. And we're going to have, it looks like no Mixon. I mean, you have the list of guys that are on the COVID list.
Yeah. It started out with center Trey Hopkins, Hendrickson on the edge, Quentin Spain at left guard. They've already said that Jackson Carman is going to start in his place. Davis Gaither, Von Bell. Today came out Ogunjobi is on the list, and Mixon is on the list. I will mention this, depending on the timing, because you remember how we talked about Jermaine Pratt and how we thought there wasn't enough time for him to come back. And actually they activated him the Saturday before the game, even though they left him inactive for the game.
Right.
If they got pegged on these tests on Tuesday and didn't practice on Tuesday, that would be day 1, which would mean they would be eligible to be activated on Saturday. Now, with that said, we're already treating this kind of as a bye game, especially for our veterans. So, anybody that's even the least bit banged up or didn't practice all week is probably extremely unlikely to play. So I don't think I'm not trying to say I'm holding out hope that they're going to play. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they're activated, but I would caution everybody not to get too excited about that, because just because they got activated does not mean that they're going to be active on Sunday.
Right.
On the other side, you look at Cleveland's injury report reads like a receipt from CVS. Yeah. I mean, it's about 3 miles long. Starting cornerback Denzel Ward, who plays almost all of their snaps, he's out. Mayfield's out. Chubb's banged up. And I was going to mention this earlier when we were talking about Pittsburgh, and I'm sorry I'm going on and on here.
No, go. Keep going. It's good stuff.
I was going to mention this when we were talking about Pittsburgh, is the only reason they even possibly can back into the playoffs is because they won that Monday night game. And anybody that watched that Monday night game could see that Cleveland just don't care. They don't care anymore. They kind of pepped up a little bit in the fourth quarter, but they look like a team that is ready to just get it done with, get out of Dodge, and just, call it a day. They're going to start Case Keenum. He had one start earlier this year. He played pretty well. Didn't turn the ball over, 1 sack, 1 touchdown. I think he had about 200 yards.
Right.
And Brandon Allen, played decently last year when Burrow was out.
Right.
The team's record wasn't very good, but I think he had 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. He played against some tough opponents too,
right?
If I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting. I honestly still think we've got a shot at winning this game, just because I think Cleveland's just laying down at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you need any more proof of that, I had started a teaser for the week on Monday, which is what I typically do. And the first thing I put down was I took Cleveland and the 10.5 points on the teaser. And everything was fine until the last play of the game, because they basically didn't tackle. I mean, it affected a second half over. It affected the over on the game, and it affected people like me. We were sitting there. They were losing by 5. I said, "Oh, no big deal. They got that junk score. I'll win this bet." And then I watched them literally miss a couple tackles and then go, let them score. And that's the perfect example of a team you want to avoid if you're going to do any gambling this week. Stick to the teams that have something to actually play for. Or coaches that they're playing for. I mean, I think Minnesota plays well this week because they want to win for Zimmer. There are teams that have an incentive to try and win their game. Stick to those, because when I'm not going to do anything with the Bengal Cleveland game, because like I said, we don't,
who knows
if there ever was, and I use this analogy all the time, but if there ever was the dented can with no label and you didn't know what you were going to get, this is the game. This is it. Could be yams, could be fruit cocktail, could be cream of corn. You don't know. And
could be yams, could be fruit cocktail. Who knows?
You don't know what you're going to get. It's the dented can with no label. Stay off the game. Don't bet the over under. Don't just stay off it. Because
there were a couple other injuries just to mention for anybody that cares. Jadeveon Clowney practiced on Wednesday. He did not practice today, so it means he probably suffered some sort of setback. So I'm guessing that probably means he's out. Let's see. David Njoku hasn't practiced. And then on our side, Burrow went out. They listed him as limited. I'm guessing he just kind of did some light workouts.
Yeah. Oh no.
He's already. We know he's not going to play.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that he's out there, stretching or whatever he was doing today, jogging around. McPherson's got a kind of a tight groin, so maybe we'll go for 2 all game.
Why not? No. We need him. Well. We need him and his 50-yard leg ready to go. So
Fred Johnson, DJ Reader, CJ Uzama, all banged up. So there's going to be a lot of there's going to be some guys out there that you never heard of. You know what I mean?
This actually isn't a bad thing, because Evans and Perrine are going to be your 1-2. They're going to be your backs, and you're going to have guys that get some valuable playing time. We might need them. You just never know. So why not get them some real game snaps?
I think particularly Jackson Carman at left guard.
Yes.
He needs those snaps so that, potentially he can go into a rotation, and give somebody a rest every once in a while and not have us kind of go,
yeah, no,
every time he comes into the game. He's
had some good moments this year.
Yeah, he has.
So, like I said, we need all our pieces together. You never know who needs to step up. And let me see if I have anything else here. It was funny. Just a couple of thoughts. Last year, we were the only team to miss the playoffs from this division, and it seriously looks like this year we will be the only team from this division in the playoffs. Right. So that was a nice little flip. And the other thing I want to point out, and don't don't go crazy on me here. Oh, you can in the comments. You guys can load up whatever you want. But the last two times, we've done this twice before, gone from worst to first and won the division. The last two times we did this, we went to the Super Bowl. So we went worst to first with the Kenny Anderson team that got there in 81. We went worst to first with the Boomer team. I'm just throwing that out there. Now, with that said, we also had in 88, we had the home field throughout. We don't have that, but I'm just throwing that out there. So it's, and those are the two little tidbits I had. I'm not saying we're winning the Super Bowl. I've said all along, I'm just happy to get here. I'd love to get a win. This was about this team maturing, and they're a year ahead of schedule in terms of getting playoff experience. So that next year when we're in the postseason, this is not a new experience for them. The preparation, the pressure, all the stuff that comes with the extra season. So
right.
Yeah.
You know what else I was thinking about today as well with regards to the first round is, something you mentioned that, you mentioned that the NFL want the Bengals there. You know what I mean? They'd rather we were there than like Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? We've already had the Roethlisberger sob story when he was leaving Heinz Field. I don't even think the NFL really cares about continuing that into the playoffs or anything like that. They want to see us there. So here's my question to you. If we play, let's say, Bill Belichick, do the Bengals get the first ever Monday night playoff game?
I don't know. It'll be,
because wouldn't that be interesting? Because that'd be fun to see. They'd be like, look at this young gunslinging team going up against the Lord of the Sith.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
So there are advantages and disadvantages to each team. When you're talking about us playing Indianapolis, I think they have the most complete team in terms of defense, running game, but they have the quarterback I would like to face the most because he is a Ben Roethlisberger type. He's not mobile. He's very stationary. I think we could Trey Hendrickson and Hubbard and our guys can do very well against him.
And he's good for an errant throw too.
Oh, absolutely.
He's always good for an errant throw.
So, and then with New England, although I do fear Belichick, we get a rookie quarterback. We get a team that's not, if you jump out in front of New England, you can put them away. This is not a team that's built to come back from a big deficit.
Right. They're built to get a lead and protect it.
Get a lead and then go into their clock killing mode. Right. So that's, so everything has its advantages. And then in terms of Buffalo, once again, we have another complete team, but I think we've dealt with Lamar, we know how to handle those type of quarterbacks. So I think we could, do well against Buffalo. So like I said, I'm in your camp where I'm just like, let's let the universe decide, we'll go out. Well, we're going to try to win the game Sunday. There's no question that we're not, we'd like to get the win. Hey, let's get win number 11. Why not? Right.
Right.
But I know I'm kind of indifferent. Let's just see what the universe decides. In fantasy football all the time, I had the second pick in the draft the year Mariota and Winston came out. And the person who had the first pick said, well, who are you looking to get? Was trying to feel me out. And I just said, whichever one you leave me. Either Winston or Mariota. He took Mariota. I had Winston. I had Winston a lot longer, the whole time on Tampa Bay as a backup quarterback. It happened earlier this year, the same thing. When Derrick Henry went down, there were two running backs that were going to split the load, and the same team took one of the guys before, and I ended up with Freeman, and he turned out to be the better running back. Right. But once again, I didn't decide on either one. I let somebody else make the first move. Right. I got whatever was left, and it turned out I won both. So a lot of times, just sit back, and whoever it is, it is. And I agree with you. I think we can beat any one of those three teams.
Yeah, I really agree.
Yeah, I really do, the way we're playing. I want to add that, I read different tweets this week, and it turns out that Burrow immediately on Palm, before Brandon Allen, and it went public that Brandon Allen was playing, Brandon Allen got a text first from Burrow saying, I'm here for you, you're in. And then Zach texted him and said, you're in. And then it broke, but he found out all of this stuff beforehand. So it's nice that Burrow's there to say, hey, I'm going to be on the sidelines. Anything you need, I'm there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, all good. So
That's my quarterback.
that's my quarterback, man. So is there so we want to do some score predictions. Go ahead. Why don't you start us off on this
Sure.
this
Yeah. I mean,
with no label game? That's what we're going
yeah. Yeah. Is it yams? Is it fruit cocktail?
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't really have to explain too much because I think I already went through my line of thinking here. Both teams are really banged up. I told you how many injuries there are on the Browns. Obviously we've got some issues, but we've preached our depth all this season, and how we're a deeper team than we usually seem to be. So I like that. The receivers are all healthy, and as far as I know, they're all going to start, including Jamar. But that's as far as I know. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. Zach said earlier this week that it looked like he was probably going to play.
Right.
But Brandon's going to have some weapons. He's gonna have better weapons than he had last year, and or at least one more really big one added in there. So it's going to be interesting to see. But like I said, I think Cleveland's laying down. I think they're ready to take their ball and go home. I think they want to be done for the season. I think they're done answering questions. They're done talking about Baker. They're done talking about the coach. They're tired of it. I think the Bengals win 23-14.
You know what? I had a similar thing. I went 24-17, and I thought the Bengals won this game for a similar reason. I also think maybe back in their thoughts, they might be thinking about draft position.
Yeah.
Once Baker decided, okay, I'm going to go in for the earlier surgery and I'm not going to play, I think that was the, kind of it's over,
Right.
And I think they're sitting there going, hey, that could be one or two places in the draft. So
yeah, I mean, at
11 and 13 or wherever you wind up falling.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I can't look into the heads of everybody over there, but you got to wonder if Stefanski is thinking to himself, "Okay, I need to show that I can win with all these guys out." I don't know how hot his seat is. I don't think it's. I think he's probably back next year, but who knows? I don't know. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in the in the GM's office.
Yeah, I don't, I'm looking at stuff. You look at the way Baker played in the postseason, and because everybody's talking about should Baker Mayfield, there was rumors about trades, and then he says, I never asked for a trade and all this. But I don't think the issue is Baker Mayfield. I think Kevin Stefanski is their issue. I questioned against the Raiders, which is I'm glad he did this, but he had a quarterback that clearly had shoulder issues. You had Nick Chubb that was running the ball very well against the Raiders, and he called 5 straight pass plays on his quarterback. And it's like, why on earth would you do that when you're running? So I think he's more of the problem than the personnel, but you never know. But I think he's back next year. I don't think they're ready to make the coaching move yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's just, I just wonder if Stefanski knows that too. You know what I mean? Or if in the back of his mind, he's like, I really need to try to win this game.
Right. Well, we'll see. We're going to find out on Sunday. But
that's right.
Yeah. So, well, there you have it. We're both predicting Bengal victories. Obviously we have an exciting week coming up next week because we'll be previewing, whoever our playoff opponent is. And then I'm curious to see where all this falls on the timeline. Monday night, that'd be fine. It would be an interesting game, especially. I think like I said, Burrow's an exciting player to watch. This team is an exciting team to watch. And if you just listen to all the talk this week, it's amazing how Lewis Riddick and all these guys have really changed their tune. I mean, Kay Adams has been there all along preaching about us, but a lot of these people have jumped on and really switched their tune, over the season. And
I nearly fell out of my chair today when I saw that Colin Cowherd said that Burrow should be the MVP over Rodgers.
I hope he is.
I was like, well, who are you? What have you done with Colin Cowherd?
I have $15 at 30-1 on Burrow as the MVP. So I would love that to happen, but we'll see what happens there. But it's like I said, it's just amazing. You listen about the thing that I love hearing the most is the other three teams are on notice. I think Louis Riddick said on Monday night, he said, this is a change for the next 5 or more years. He said this core is so young that all three of the teams in this division are going to have to spend the next 2 or 3 years of drafts to try to come up with ways to stop our passing attack. So, I mean, it clearly is a changing of the guard. We're seeing the fruits of our labor. And I've said all along, I've said, you can go back to last year, I talked about how I see us like the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. Young coach, young running back in Emmitt Smith, Irvin, Aikman, they were all assembled over a 2 or 3 year period. And that core, dominated the 90s. And I really think we've set the foundation to do something similar. Obviously, we still have to execute and do it. And health has a lot to do with it, but really, really excited.
It should be mentioned too that when projecting what the salary cap is going to be next year, as of right now, the Bengals are listed as having the 5th most money available.
And that, my friend, is why we don't play games with the contract. Ben Roethlisberger's career is going to end. The Steelers are going to be feeling that in their salary cap for the next 2 seasons.
Oh yeah.
Because whenever you restructure and you start making things bonuses and stretching them out over 5 years, eventually you have to pay the piper. And this isn't baseball where the Dodgers could pay Manny Ramirez $30 million a year to not play and you just eat it because there's no salary cap. This is a huge problem, in terms of, so they're going to be up against it in terms of free agency, things like that. They don't have the money. They just don't. Because I've heard rumors, well, they'll go out and get this guy in free agency. They'll go out and get that guy in free agency. No, they're going to be paying Ben Roethlisberger, $20-some million next year in dead cap money. That's where it's going. So that's one of the benefits. When Katie Blackburn and Mike Brown do a contract, they expect the player to play that contract out, and they fully expect to pay the full contract. They're not looking like the Steelers kind of backload it and then cut players in their last year. They did it to Ferrier. They did it to Porter. They've done it to numerous guys. We don't do that. That's why when Carson Palmer wanted his trade, Mike Brown held his ground. He was like, we've already paid you $120 million of your contract. We expect you to live the contract out. We don't play games with that where we keep restructuring and kicking cap numbers into the future. And we're seeing it. We're going to have plenty of money to spend. We can go out and get a marquee. We can draft a marquee tackle or a marquee guard, and we can go out and sign 1 or 2. Yep. We can go get the premier linebacker. We can go do that next year. And we can reward the players we have. We still have to pay Bates, and we're going to want to extend a couple of these guys, So,
well, we're going to have plenty to talk about after we win the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, after we win the Super, because we know that the last 2 times we went from worst to first.
That's right.
That's right. Right back. Wait, over that shoulder. Wait. There we go. I get turned around. There you go. So, but all right. Why don't you remind everybody where they can find your stuff?
Sure. On Twitter at Buy and Sell You or at Talk Primetime. You can find Mark on all of the major platforms at LA Bengals Fan. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get alerts when we put a new video out. And please comment down below, give us a score. Let us know how far you think we're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Give us a couple who days. Let's see it.
Let's see it. Love it. All right. Well, we will be back with a recap of the game on Sunday. And with that, I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody.
Hoo day.
Take care.